Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
Oh, baby. I am so ready for rapid fire. It's a beautiful Monday. It's time.
It is.
It's time for rapid fire. I'm ready.
Monday rapid. Nothing like rapid fire on Monday to really just kind of get the juices flowing, get you hopping again.
I'm saying. Let's go.
Which was more impressive? Jeremiyah Love hurdling a defender into the end zone or Love rushing for 130 yards on 7 carries?
I actually had to sit here and think about this one because the athleticism required for that hurdle, because not only did he clear that kid by like 2 feet, but then he just landed on his feet like it was no big deal. Normally when somebody hurdles somebody else, like their momentum is going forward and they fall over, and it's just not a pretty thing, right? Jeremiyah Love leaped over this guy with no problem whatsoever. But having 130 yards on 7 carries and the manner in which he did that, especially on his last carry, just literally leaving the entire Army defense in his dust, that's got to be the most impressive thing from Jeremiyah Love on Saturday.
Track meet.
Man.
That's it. Track meet after that, right?
Somebody told me that
track meet and a hurdle, I guess.
Right. So yeah, Jeremiyah Love was not a trained track participant, but he just lined up one day and ran a 10.500. Wow. Like, that's like, come on, man. Like, are you kidding me?
That's just stupid.
Yeah. I don't know if that's like a Paul Bunyan tale or whatever, but that's what I heard from a pretty credible source. And I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah, he averaged 18.5 yards per carry. And that, Ryan just said, 130 yards, 19 yards per carry against a top 20 team as well. Yes, it is. It's extremely wild. And that's why, like, as much as hurdling a guy into the end zone is a highlight, like if he had done the Saquon Barkley and he did, like a 180 and he hurdled him, like going in backwards, maybe I would vote for the hurdle over it. But the fact that he only carried the ball 7 times and had 130 yards, and it's really, that's what his whole season is, because, what do we start off talking about at the start of the season? Well, he needs more carries. They've got to get him the ball more, all these different things. But I do think, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I think the way they have split the carries with him and Jadarian Price, like, that's why we're still seeing so many of these explosive plays and why they still have the legs to do this kind of stuff. So from a team standpoint, it's worked out great for everybody. They're not worried about it. They're winning games, and he's still getting just, crazy yards. And Ashton Genty, as great as he has been for Boise State, he just went over 2,000 yards this past weekend. He's got something like 275 carries. Like,
right.
If you gave Jeremiyah Love 275 carries, he'd be right around 2,000 yards as well. Like, that's what he's done. But the other side of that, he's a great enough athlete that, as long as he stayed healthy and all that kind of stuff, I have no doubt that he would be somewhere around that. And I saw someone on the boards was talking about, well, if you gave him the 2017 offensive line, would he be pushing 3,000 yards? I don't think he would.
No.
Just because I still think that they would be splitting carries, like they don't want to put the load solely on one guy and like specific to Love because of, the things that they talked about when he was recruited and all that kind of stuff. And again, like, it has worked out great for everybody. He's just an amazing athlete is what it comes down to.
Completely agree. And they are look, there's a possibility that Notre Dame has 5 games left.
Yeah.
You need to play the season. If you have championship aspirations, you need to play the season from a personnel standpoint exactly the way Notre Dame is playing the season. Exactly the way.
Yep.
And I think they're doing it the right way. Both guys are having a ton of success, and there is no drop off, whether it's Jadarian Price or Jeremiyah Love. And Aeneas Williams is closing the gap because he's pretty dynamic when he's got the football as well. So you've kind of got a 3-headed monster in this backfield, and Notre Dame's doing a really good job of splitting up those carries.
Right. And again, like, they didn't need to run Riley Leonard that much the other night. They ran him a few times. They didn't need to run him any more than what they did. So, why put any more hits and mileage on him than what you need to? And, great point, because Lauren Landau took all the the hits, especially early in the season with everything that's going on. But they're looking like a pretty well-oiled, pretty well-conditioned machine. What matters the most? What you're doing in November and what you do in December and January now is going to matter as well. But it's a great point about the fact that you could be playing up to 15 games, and they're going to get a break here in a little bit. But they just look extremely fresh when they go out there on the field, and the fact that they're still able to run away from guys the way they do. So injured kicker Mitch Jeter missed a 48-yard field goal Saturday night, and he had a 30-yarder blocked. Here is Marcus Freeman when asked if Jeter is still the guy.
Mitch Jeter has always been our best option. This week, he hit that ball better than he's been able to hit in a long time. The one he missed, I have even more confidence after he hit that ball. I know it ended up going right, but he hit that ball really well, and that was from a yard line that we weren't previously able to do. Right? We didn't feel comfortable with his injury to kick from that far, but to see him hit that ball, there was a lot of encouragement for me. I know he missed it, but there was a lot of encouragement that I felt after seeing him hit that ball and the confidence he had. The second one was not on a Mitch error. It was not a Mitch Jeter error. That was a field goal protection error that we have to get fixed immediately with urgency, and we're attacking it. But the second one was not on Mitch Jeter one bit, and I got the utmost confidence in Mitch Jeter every single opportunity we have to kick a field goal. It's just that line. Where's that line that we ask him to go out there and kick it?
I mean, I agree with what he's saying about the block. That's not on the kicker.
Oh gosh, no.
By any means, especially when it's as short as it was.
Can't let
it's
not
somebody
like he's
run, trying to kick it lower and that.
Can't let somebody come right through. I think it was the guard tackle gap. And block it with his chest. Like I can't do that.
No. So, it didn't matter ultimately on Saturday, Vince. But again, like USC's given Notre Dame some games the last couple times they've been out there when it's mattered, right? So, scale of 1 to 10, how big a concern is this situation to you?
I'm concerned enough that I would not let him play on Saturday. I would shelve him until the playoff. Yep, I would. Because, look, if this game comes down to a field goal, then you're not the team I thought you were. I'll be real honest with you. This game should not come down to a field goal. And, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and maybe it's not even possible, but the two guys that they have backing up Mitch Jeter should be able to hit anything inside of 40. You should be able to. Otherwise, you shouldn't even call yourself a kicker.
Why are you on an FBS roster if you can't hit a field goal inside of 40 yards? Because
I don't care if
you're talking about the 33-yard line as your line. Like that is any college kicker should be able to make that.
Correct. And so I have a major problem if those guys can't do it, and they need to be looking very hard for another kicker at that point. But for the USC game, I would shelve Jeter. I would say, look, man, I'm going to give you 4 weeks to get right. Stay off of your whatever it is, your groin, your hamstring, whatever the injury is, stay off of it and just be better and be ready to go once we start bowl prep. Okay. And that's what I need you to be. And so that's what I would do, because
it's a little concern though, because they did just have another bye week a couple of weeks ago. So he's already got some rest, but he's still kind of
obviously not enough because they keep running him out there and they keep having him kick. And I don't think that's the right move. That's more, to me, that's more on the coaches, because if you ask a kid, hey, do you want to go play? He's going to say yes.
Yeah.
Every time. As a coach, you got to tell him no. You're shelved for a while. And I don't think that they did that enough. And so that's my only issue with coaching right now.
Because, I mean, you're talking about a month from now when you're playing a playoff game. And, I mean, you're like, it shouldn't come down to the kicker against USC.
Agreed.
I absolutely agree with that. Like people were asking earlier, why is the line only 7.5? I mean, I don't know.
Money. It is a
little bit interesting, but
that's betting. Anybody that watched UCLA
well, you
play
can
USC,
say it's betting, but more times than not,
I know.
Vegas,
I know. You're right.
Those lines are there for a reason. It's not
they weren't
like
right about
making up numbers.
They weren't right about Army.
No, that's very fair.
They haven't been right about Notre Dame for the past month. So I'll at least say that much.
Which
But
is weird, but because
you're
like
right.
we've talked about it on Countdown, like when we've looked at some of these lines, when you look at the lines and the over-unders, they don't really match a lot of times.
Right.
They've been off. It's like, well, if this is the line and this is the point total, then what Notre Dame is going to score 40 points on their own, and you think the other, like granted, Al Golden's defense has been great, but they've missed a lot. They've missed a lot.
I will 1,000% agree with you though. Vegas is right way more than they're wrong, and they are eerily right, like down to the point at times, right? So I'm not throwing any shade at Vegas, but 7.5 does seem like an odd number for this game. I will say, like anybody that sat down and watched USC play UCLA on Saturday night, how you can think that USC is going to be within 7 points of Notre Dame is mind-boggling to me. I don't even understand how you could even think that would be the case. But maybe we all win money because we put money on Notre Dame to cover. So
yeah, I agree with what you're saying though. Just like let him rest. Right. Don't put any more stress on it. Now, granted, I mean you could kick him in this game, but I think it's still it just feels like it's still going to be dicey at this point because he's obviously still bothered by it. So you could kick him in this game and then rest him for 3 weeks, I guess, but then you got to get him ready. But I don't know. It just feels like setting him out would be the way to go at this point, but that doesn't seem like that's what they're going to do. So
right. I know, which is whatever. Okay. Fine.
Before the game started Saturday night, Marcus Freeman did his customary pregame drive-by interview with NBC. You come out, you get the couple questions. And so he was asked what he most wanted to see from his team. And his answer, violence.
You could take out the word violence and say physicality. You could say speed. You could say velocity. I chose to use the word violence, but that's the mindset I wanted this group to have. And the reason why I said that is because when you play against a triple option team, especially defensively, it can tend to make you play cautious. We have to be perfect. Stop the dive, stop the quarterback, stop the pitch. That's not what this offense wanted to do. This offense wants to just pound you vertically, like they want to attack you. And we had to have that attacking mindset. And offensively, I wanted the same thing. I know they had the top something run defense in the country. I wanted to attack them. I wanted to have a mindset that we were going to have to go after them and not worry about our athleticism, not worry about the talent we have. I wanted to physically go at them. And that's the mindset I had, and that's what I thought we needed to have success in that game. And our guys did a great job with playing with speed, velocity, physicality, and violence.
Yes, he even said it at the end.
Violence.
Good for you, Marcus.
Violence.
To
me, it was like the Mr. T. I know you're not into the Rocky stuff, but when it was like, "What's your prediction for the fight?" Pain.
Yeah, I know that.
It's like that's because like my wife, she heard it when I was rewatching it yesterday. I played that interview so I could see the whole thing, and she's like, "Oh, violence," and I'm like, "You realize it's football, right? It's a contact sport." Like,
okay. First of all,
what do you think, Vince? What do you think about violence?
I loved his pregame interview, number one, okay? Because he was fired up, man. He was ready to go. It was very reminiscent of like the A&M game. He was fired up, which I love. And the fact that he used the word violence, I think, was absolutely appropriate, and it was perfect. What I don't like is the fact that he felt like he had to backtrack in the press conference and apologize for using the word violence. But he doubled down at the very end and he said violence, which I love. He did not back. Good for you.
Came back to it. Yes.
Like, what a soft society, man. If people are upset that he used the word violence to describe a football game. Football is a violent sport. Anybody that's played it knows it's a violent sport. And I'm glad he stuck to his guns on this one because he was absolutely correct. He wanted violence. And guess what? We all watched the game. And that's exactly what he got on both sides of the ball, by the way.
Yeah. I mean,
love it.
Now you got some, guys maybe who really took it to heart, on Army's first touchdown drive with some of the, like stupid things. Maybe they were, you talk about like walking the edge. Maybe they were a little bit over the edge with some of that stuff, but they were able to dial it back in. And that's exactly right, man. Like, when you play Army, when you play Navy, when you play Air Force, you play these service academies who are going to play this option offense. Everything is collision, collision, collision. If you're not playing violently, like you're going to get hurt yourself by with like passive thoughts or like passive approach or whatever. You've got to be violent. It is football, and I loved it. Like the way they were coming downhill to the ball, the way they were, out there on the perimeter, just suffocating anything that was in front of them. I mean, that was the kind of mindset that they had. I loved it.
Oh,
I ate it up because I didn't get to see it live, and I saw some people tweet it. And then when I did get to see it live, I'm like, there it is. Like, lap it up, boys and girls. That's what it's all about. Right there.
It was great. Like as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, the boys are going to be ready to play.
Dang.
Let's go.
He dies. ND Sailor wants to know who'll play in place of KVA. Well, I mean,
it's a 5-man rotation, just went to 4. Like
right.
That's what it's going to happen. I mean, yeah.
Just see more Drake Bowen.
Yeah.
More Jack Kaiser. Like
they're not.
Jalen Sneed's been playing well.
Right.
Freeman talked today about how well Sneed's been practicing.
Yeah, so. They're not going to be putting anybody else into that rotation. It's just going to be 5 to 4, and then hopefully, did he give a time frame? Because he just said he has a sprained knee.
No time frame. I think
he's out.
It felt like everybody who he talked about today, with the exception of KK Smith, because the other, it was KVA, it was Howard Cross, obviously still with the ankle, and then Bodie Cahoon, who's played these last 3 games now. Like since he didn't play basically the first 8, he's played the last 3. Like freshman, keeping under the red shirt rule and all that kind of. But it felt like those 3 guys, the 3 guys not named KK Smith, were all pretty much like they probably, like good chance they weren't going to play, but with some rest a month from now, they'd most likely be ready for the, for the playoff game. That kind of thing.
They did put Preston Zinter on the 2 deep this week, which I'm a little surprised about. But so, I mean, there's a chance that he might get a little bit of playing time. So maybe his role gets increased a little bit. But I think primarily it's going to be the 4 that have been rotating in.
Okay. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame's 3:30 kickoff this Saturday at USC is blank.
A gift from the football gods is what it is. It's fantastic from a selfish standpoint, but also from a Notre Dame standpoint, they're used to playing at 3:30. Like, I'm totally fine with that. They just need to replicate what they normally do for a 3:30 kickoff, and they're going to be just fine. If anything, I think that hurts USC to have a 12:30 kickoff for them.
How often do they have that? A
right.
12:30 kickoff at home?
I love it. I think it's from a football standpoint, I think it's just fine. For Notre Dame, they're used to playing at 3:30 and their internal clock is 3:30. Marcus Freeman talked today about how they're going out there on Friday like they normally do for a regular home game, and it's going to be normal for them. So I think it's great for all fronts.
No, I do as well. And I think that it definitely shows how far USC has fallen off, because
seriously,
because if they were even nominally better, there's no way it wouldn't be at least a 7:00 kickoff. I don't think, but it's going to be on CBS. It's going to be a 3:30 kickoff. So I think it's great for everybody except for me. Like, I'm not going to be able to.
You're literally going to have a women's game on at the exact same time, aren't you?
5:00, and I've got to get these times confirmed because it's listed as Eastern time, but we're also where we're going is Central time. And I was looking at the itinerary, and the itinerary says 5, but the schedule also says 5. So I got to double check like what time.
Gotcha. Yeah, my schedule says 5:00, so I assume that's Eastern. But
yeah,
who the heck knows?
So I'm not going to be able to watch. I don't even know
you won't be able to watch
what we're going to get for TV down there or anything.
Good point.
So
good point.
But I think it's great. I don't remember a Notre Dame USC game Honestly, the last
Great
one I
point.
remember like kicking off, like when it's out there was like 88. I remember that being like a middle of the afternoon game. I distinctly remember like watching middle of the afternoon, but that's when things were so different just in
Yeah.
terms of like, how times were set and all that different kind of stuff. It seemed like for kickoffs.
It's so great. So great.
Fill in the blank. Ohio State putting a mock headline up on their video board after their game that said Buckeyes win. Google it. Is blank.
Look, petty, but I love it. That's what it is. It's petty, but I love it. Okay. Here's the thing. I want to preface this entire thing with the fact that I really dislike Ohio State for a myriad of reasons. Their head coach probably being the biggest. But I have no problem with them scoring at the end. And I have no problem. Look, Curt Cignetti, for all the good that he is, he likes to talk, man.
He does.
He likes to talk.
He does.
And if you don't back it up, you're going to get some of that back at you. Like, that's just how it goes, man. Like, you got to talk the talk. And I guarantee you, if you ask Curt what he thought of that, he'd be like, well, yeah, kind of deserve that one. I'm just saying, like, he does a lot of talking. It's going to come back at you if you don't win. So I don't have a problem with it. I really don't.
Shouldn't you be above that, though, if you're Ohio State? Like, shouldn't you be above the snark? Like, you've been there before. Like, do you really have to rub it in the little guy's face on the way out the door? I get what you're saying about Cignetti, because he is a very, like, if he's not cocky, he's walking, he's right on that line. I think he is pretty cocky.
I think he's cocky. He's cocky.
So like, I get it. I get what you're saying.
Sure.
If you're gonna talk it, you better be able to walk it. And obviously he didn't. But it just feels like, you're Ohio State. You've owned these guys for decades anyway. Like, you need to rub the salt in the wound as well. Like it felt like Ohio State should be above this. I said last week, Ryan Day has only lost 4 regular season games since he has been the head coach.
Wow. 3 of them to Michigan?
2 of them are to
2 of them. Okay.
4 home regular season games. Michigan and Oregon.
Okay.
And even that, like, it just feels like it's a little bit much to me. You're Ohio State. You're supposed to win.
It's
that
very
game.
typical Ohio State, though. Look who their leader is. He's the guy that wanted to beat up Lou Holtz.
That's true too.
Like 87 years old.
Because he was, because like
he's a doofus.
Yeah.
He's a doof. This is prime doofus.
That guy walks around with a lot of things in his head. You can
does.
tell. Like,
he really
doesn't let anything go.
And he took the whole IU thing personally. Like, he took that stuff personally. Like, look, Curt Cignetti went to the Big Ten championship game before he ever coached a game at IU and said, well, I figured I'd show up here because he was doing an interview. I figured I'd show up since we're going to be here next year. Like, okay. Like, I have no problem with you saying it, but like, you got to back it up. And if you don't back it up, then you kind of deserve what comes your way. So, look, would I have done that? No. Would I be upset if Notre Dame did that? Yes. Am I surprised Ohio State did? No. But I also don't have a problem with it. So there you go. I don't know if that's speaking out of both sides of my mouth or not, but
it was a little bit, like if it was a little bit like Michigan Stadium playing the chicken dance when the last time we were up there.
Right.
And I guess that wasn't the last time, but
it was when all that stuff was going on.
Denard Robinson.
Chicken. Yeah.
Felt a little bit like that.
Yeah. And again, shocker that it came from Michigan.
Right.
Decaf
wants to know, bigger D-bag, Ryan Day or BK?
It's Ryan Day. It is.
Yeah. If we're gonna go pure D-bag,
yeah.
I think Ryan Day is hard to top, honestly.
Really is, man. Like, I got a lot of problems with BK. Don't get me wrong, but he's not threatening to beat up 87-year-old men either. So, like,
because I would say, Day wears the D-bag crown. Signetti wears the cocky crown. What crown does BK wear?
Man. The narcissistic crown, maybe, or the I'm trying to come up with something better than that, though. I don't know. I mean, he's very full. BK loves himself some BK. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a really good question, but he doesn't come off to me as like a D-bag. Like there's just like Ryan Day just screams like frat bro to me. Like that's who Ryan Day is to me. And I may have just ticked off a bunch of people, but like that's who he is to me. Brian Kelly is more like a politician. He's like a smarmy, like kind of dirty.
The smarm.
He wears the smarm crown. There we go.
There you go.
I like it. Because they're different. They act completely differently, but they're both slimy, you know? But yeah, Ryan Day he's just a frat bro. I see him walking around with the khaki shorts and like the sandals and the polo shirt and the whole thing. So
I like it. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame women's basketball beating third-ranked Southern Cal this weekend is blank.
It was a great way to kick off that Saturday, man. Like it was like a Notre Dame doubleheader. I'm sitting down here, like on my feet most of the time, watching this game, just getting fired up as Olivia Miles is just draining threes on the run. And, I mean, that team is just fun to watch. And people, look, they took USC out of that game, and they took Juju Watkins out of that game. They forced Snoop to leave early, Sean. Like he was gone well before that game was over. And what happens when Notre Dame gets to be full strength?
That's the scary part. And look, I put a notebook up, with a lot of stuff from after the game, quotes and different things like this. And I had Sonia Citron on in the post game after the game. And like you said, they took Watkins out. And like, and Sony, when I was talking to, about how she did it, she because it's who she is, she went right into the whole, the team and, I said,
she was locked down, man.
Come on, let's just be honest here. You did it. Okay. You did it. She shut Juju Watkins down. And like I said, Sonia Citron is the best lockdown defender at the very least in the ACC, but she is one of the best lockdown defenders in the entire nation. And that was on display. That was the player that a majority of people consider the best player in women's college basketball right now, with Caitlin Smith, in the WNBA. Juju Watkins is the player that a lot of people think is it.
Well,
and, again, like, Juju ended up getting her points.
Yeah, but she got most of them at the very end. Like
exactly
when the game was not in doubt anymore.
The game was already far decided by that point. In the first half, when Notre Dame was, making its hay, Citron was just on her like a glove. And, even like there was once or twice where, Watkins, managed to get by her a little bit, and Sony was still able to block the shot.
Well, and I think part of what is going to make this team, very, very good and allow them to do a lot of things this year is the fact that they can take Sony and put her on, the best offensive player that another team has to offer. Right. And now, like before, they also needed her to score, and that's asking a lot for her to have to lock down and be one of the leading scorers. Well, now with Olivia back and you got Kate Koval down on the block, you have other options to score. And so she doesn't have to necessarily worry about that right now. She just needs to worry about her defensive assignment, lock them down, and let those other gals, shoot the lights out. You know what I mean? Like there's other scoring options right now. And she doesn't have to be that major, because for so long she had to score too.
Right.
You know what I mean? For them to win. And I just don't think that's the case right now.
And she talked about it a little bit after the game, how, like Hidalgo could bring some full court pressure and allow Citron to, to get up court, kind of breathe a little bit, and then, and like get set up while Hidalgo is causing her Hidalgo, havoc with, like pestering, whoever's bringing up the ball, or, like because she ended up with 5 steals as well. And obviously, she had a great game herself, like just watching, like some of the highlights back with, Hidalgo and Miles, and, like that whole early exchange, where like they assisted each other on back-to-back possessions on the awesome 3-pointers, like it was just amazing, and then the other thing is they get Leah King back, and like you talk about Kate Koval, and then King got into a little bit of foul trouble, and they had to sit her even for a little bit in the second half. But they were still able to just, keep scoring. They got up by 21 points in that. It was just, it was amazing because you just don't know. 15 total former McDonald's All-Americans on those two rosters.
Wow.
Like, that's how much talent was on the floor.
Wow.
Now, some of them for Notre Dame, are injured and not playing right now, but still 15 total on the rosters. That is a lot of talent out there. And it was a lot of fun, because again, like sometimes those games don't live up to the billing.
Oh, this one did. Well, if you were a Notre Dame fan, it did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and the star power was that. You want to talk about that for just a quick second?
You throw in, because like you mentioned Snoop Dogg, and then you've got Michael B. Jordan. And for those who don't know who he is, like one of Vince's favorite TV shows from Friday Night Lights, the last couple seasons when he went to
he was Vince.
Was that Dylan West or East?
East. West was the blue team. East was the new one, the red.
Started off there, and then he was Creed, of course.
Yep. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Have you seen the Creed movies?
Sean, you know the answer to that.
Yeah, just not a boxing guy. But then Snoop Dogg was there. Apparently, Snoop was wearing.
He was
a Juju Watkins custom jacket. I couldn't tell from where I was sitting because he was across the floor.
But the way the TV copy was, his back was to where the TV was, and he was sitting right at half court. So you could see him the whole time. It had Watkins on the back, like her name, and then her number as well on this jacket. So it was very obvious when he left. I find it was literally nobody took the seat. It was an empty seat at half court after he was gone.
I did wonder, because I didn't realize at the time, but USC and UCLA football were playing that night. I wonder if he was like going to the football game.
It's possible. I'm not going to give him a hard time about leaving early, but it was more of a. I happened to look down. He was.
It was an event when he walked in the door.
I
the
bet.
Whole arena just like. All of a sudden, this cheer went up, and you looked over, and here's Snoop Dogg walking across the floor.
He's
and
very
recognizable. And everyone was like, I got a contact high.
Yeah, it's very recognizable. That's for sure. I didn't realize you got to sit so close to the team.
It's not always like it's it's different from place to place, but it was
a couple seats down.
Yep, sitting right there, and then Cameron Brink, who was the number 2 pick in the WNBA draft by LA last year, she was sitting.
Yep.
Straight across the floor. And I tell you what, she's listed at 6'4". She looks like she's 7 feet tall when she stands up.
Long legs.
Her legs, I think, are probably as tall as I am. Like, and you might have to stack a couple of me to get that. That was great. Something. God's nuclear ICBM. You might want to back this down a little bit. He says Olivia needs to learn to pass the dang ball. She's averaging almost 7 assists per game. I think she's passing the ball.
She's one of the best passers in college basketball.
And by the way, she hit 4 3-pointers for the second game in a row. So it's not like she was just tossing up bricks, like when she wasn't passing.
Yeah, so, can't really agree with that one.
She had 7 assists. Hidalgo had 8 assists. I think they did a pretty good job of sharing the ball out there. Come on. And they won.
Big time.
He also said, when does Notre Dame play the UConn ladies? That is coming up next month. I believe it is December 5th is Texas, and December 12th
it's coming
is UConn. So get a couple more big ones. And I did see Notre Dame went up in the polls to number 3 this week. Nice. UCLA is number 1. UCLA beat South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina lost.
Yep. Watch the last 10 minutes. Well, the last 10 minutes, I think the game was, kind of out of hand by that point.
But... Well, and they couldn't put any subs in because they didn't have any. They only played 7 girls, right?
Yeah.
I think they were only 7 deep. So yeah. Anyway.
So Vince, Thanksgiving, of course, is Thursday.
Yep.
This will be the only show you and I do together this week.
Sadness.
So I've got to ask you, if you could pick only 5 food items for Thanksgiving, what would they be?
Got my list right there. I'm prepared. I just want you to know that.
Nice.
I'm prepared. So, number 1, and this is going to be the most controversial of them all, I'm guessing, ham.
Ham is, it's funny you say that because Ham is my daughter's favorite. My dad and my daughter
Haley.
are not big turkey people.
Yeah.
And so we always have ham. And it is on my list. It is not number one on my list, but it is
Okay.
on my list.
Love that.
I like mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll have like a like turkey and kind of is on my main kind of thing
Okay.
the first time through, but then a little bit later, I like the ham sandwich a little bit later.
I like
with
that.
the leftover. Yeah.
My next one is baked macaroni and cheese. That's gotta be in there. This is kind of a running joke in our family, but I don't care. The canned cranberry sauce, stuff that looks like the can, that has to be in there. I'm sorry.
We're right up the right.
I can't
right
do
up
the
the
other
right alley.
stuff. I can't do that other stuff.
I don't like the fancy stuff.
No,
Yeah.
I like the canned stuff. I like the gelatin or whatever it is. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't care. The next one is like a split.
Like the ocean spray
Yes.
canned, yes.
Like
The Jello or gelatin.
it just
kind of
pops
mold.
out. There it
Yeah.
is. It looks like the can.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
Let's see here. So my potato, I'm good with either a mashed, like a garlic mashed, or a cheesy potato. Either one I'm good with. So I'd put them both, like one or the other. I don't care. As long as I've got a potato, I'm good. And then the last one, of course, is pumpkin pie. Got to have the pumpkin pie. So those are my 5.
Now you actually, I have to take one off my list because cranberry sauce does come higher. Turkey, of course, I do still like the turkey.
I get it.
Stuffing is my number 2. Stuffing might actually be my number 1.
Stuffing, it has to be good. There's so many times
Yeah.
stuffing is too dry.
But stuffing is my only required side. Like
That's
you
fair.
listed both mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese. I'll take either one of those, but stuffing is always going to come first.
That's fair. That's fair.
And then I had rolls, but I actually forgot the cranberry, and I've got to replace the rolls with the cranberry again. The rolls will come later when it's sandwich time, basically. And what but then the other thing that I like to do is I like to take the sweet potato and some stuffing and a roll and the meat.
Wow.
And that's like
you got yourself
and some cranberry sauce, and that's the sandwich right there. I think I learned that from friends. I think it was either Joey or Chandler. I think it was Joey.
Probably Joey.
Yeah, because he was like the big eater.
Yeah.
The Thanksgiving sandwich that they make there. And then I've got ham, and then I've got pie. And it really doesn't matter what pie.
You're just a general pie guy.
It's Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And I'll take a pumpkin pie. I'll take a pecan pie every now and then. Cherry pie is the personal favorite, but that's more like the rest of the months of the year. Like pumpkin and pecan are generally the two at the top.
I can't get on board with pecan, but I could do like somebody mentioned a chocolate cream pie, like any kind of a cream pie.
Yeah.
I'm pretty on board with an apple pie. But generally, if I'm going apple, I got to throw a little vanilla ice cream on that, like a little a la mode with my apple pie.
Nice. I like that too.
Yeah.
I like that too. We do, my wife and her mom make these, they're called pumpkin rolls. It's like,
that sounds
good. It's basically like, it's obviously like a pumpkin bread, but then, like they roll it out and then they make like this, it's like this sweet kind of cream cheese filling that they spread out, and then you roll it up and you put it in the fridge, and then you slice them, like into. So those are good as well, but those are more like my daughter can't go Thanksgiving without the pumpkin rolls, but I'll take them, but I'd still rather have the pie than the pumpkin roll.
Yeah, so. I get that. Yep, I get that too. So this just made me hungry, basically.
I know
where we're at with things, but those are the 5 mainstays. Though I'm open to other items. By the way, it's just not my top 5. Like a good noodle or something along those. Like there's plenty of other things out there that I'm.
That's the thing with Thanksgiving, man. It's like
it doesn't matter.
Especially, you do the big, like the family thing where everybody's bringing something.
Yeah.
You've got so many sides, and it's like there are only so many I can eat.
Yes.
I have no idea what the menu is going to be for us this Thanksgiving. Like a few Thanksgivings ago when we went to Florida, they had a really nice spread down there. In fact, had an awesome pumpkin pie or pecan pie.
Oh, okay.
That I remember. When we were in the Bahamas a couple of years ago, nice trip to the Bahamas. I would say that they're not as up on like how to cook the American Thanksgiving.
That's the
fare.
problem. You're going to be in a place that does not celebrate Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So what is that going to look like? That's a great question. One that I'm going to need the answer to when you get back.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will still be here tomorrow. Vince will not be, though. So, Vince, you have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks. You too.
And the rest of your week. And
you enjoy that warmth. Make sure you use some sunscreen.
They just sent us the forecast. It's supposed to be in the 80s while we're down there. So I will take that for sure.
When we're going to hit a cold snap up here, by the way.
I know.
I don't know if you realize that or not, but it's going to be like a high like 28, on the weekend.
Well, it was snowing when we left for Los Angeles last week.
That is true. I didn't even think about that. You're right. It was snowing. It didn't last very long, but it was snowing.
Yeah.
And today it was like 56. So whatever, man. Who knows?
Yeah. My aunt always did the green bean casserole when we were growing up. And again, it's like, I'll eat a little bit, but it's not a must-have for me.
That's not there's always the green bean casserole at Thanksgiving, and it is not, that is not a thing for me.
I would rather have, one, why are you even bothering wasting your time? It's like, mushroom, canned mushroom soup with the green beans. It's like, it's not actually good for you.
And they put the crunchy, like the onion crunchies on top.
French onions.
I'll grab a couple of crunched onions and throw those in from the can, but I'm not, nope.
Yeah.
Green bean casserole.
I would rather have, it's like this corn. It's kind of like a cornbread. It's like a corn casserole, I think is what
oh,
it's got kind of like some cornbread and it's a little soft and it's got corn in it as well. Yeah.
That's high quality.
Like if we're going to go fake vegetables on Thanksgiving, I've got to go with that and the sweet potatoes.
Yes.
I'm
with you.
Green bean casserole.
With you 1,000%. Now, here's the question about Thanksgiving before we sign off here. You going to be able to watch the Cowboys?
I have no idea.
Man.
I do know, we're staying at, it's like a Westin.
Okay.
And there are, like some, down on this island, there are, like there's some sports bars and, like restaurants and those kind of things. I have no idea what the whole TV situation is going to be when we get there, though.
But there's no game on Thanksgiving, so you're off the hook on that one, right?
Right.
Okay.
No actual basketball game on Thanksgiving, so I don't have to worry about anything work related on Thanksgiving other than, probably getting a little bit of prep done, for the game on Friday.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
But so when we were in the Bahamas, we did get American TV, but we were also like, I think it's like 50 miles off the coast of Florida, so we were a lot closer to the States. So
good point.
I have no idea. I will say this. I'm at least a little bit more looking forward to the fact that they're playing on Thanksgiving after the Cowboys, by some miracle, no matter how many times they tried to give it back to Washington yesterday, managed to win. What was crazy is I'm in one room watching the Cowboys Commanders. My daughter's in the other room because she's this big Bears fan watching that game, and they tied it up, at the end. Were you watching it?
Well, it wasn't on TV around us, first of all. They played the Colts game instead. And so I only saw it at the end, but I was kind of following along. But I watched the end just to have my heart broken.
Having the Sunday ticket came in handy in this household yesterday because I had that, so we were able to watch both games that weren't on in this market. So it's looking like the Cowboys are going to win. Like, all they have to do is not do something stupid, and then they give up that long pass play, right? Like, have you seen the highlights of what happened at the end of that game? And so, like, she's getting texts from Jesse about, this crazy ending in the Bears game. And so I pop into the other room and, Jesse starts texting me about that. And the next thing I know, I hear the call from the other room with this touchdown pass. It's like, are you kidding? There's like 17 seconds left. And it was worse than the one that the Bears gave up because it wasn't even a Hail Mary. It was just like a short pass. And this guy runs through 6 Cowboys defenders, 80 yards to the end zone. But then, of course, they missed the extra point. So they've got to kick the onside kick. And then the Cowboys, all they have to do is just recover the onside kick and fall on it, and the game's over. But instead, the guy scoops it up like a video game, runs it in for a touchdown. So the Cowboys have to kick off back to Washington again. And then you've got to kind of, like hyperventilate until they finish it off. So but my point is, do I really care about Cowboys and Giants on Thanksgiving Day? Probably not. But at the same time, I'm at least feeling like maybe it's a game that they can win after yesterday.
This is true. So. This is true. Old Tommy DeVito leading the G-Men. I think you got a good shot.
And we both got our teams playing on Thanksgiving this year. Since you got them playing the Lions. I know you got to be feeling worse about that.
The Lions didn't look good this past week, and now it's a short week. I'm interested to see kind of what that looks like. But yeah, it's going to be interesting.
All right, we'll hit that old like button before Jesse. Vince is still in the dungeon. All right, so Jesse is sitting here watching. I see how it is. Hit that like button before you leave, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Appreciate it as always. Great day. IB Nation Sports Talk.
Happy Turkey Day, everybody.